Welcome to the most authoritative hour on TV. It's The Pulse. We're live from our studios in Kokomlimle on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air on DSTV channel 421 and Go TV channel 144. Remember, we are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. This afternoon, after 33 years of dedicated service, Inspector General of Police James Opon-Bueno is pulling out as a police officer and handing over to incoming acting IGP George Akufo-Dampare. What are his legacies and what does the new IGP bring on board? We have details of that event and testimonies from police officers who say Mr. Opon-Bueno leaves a legacy of good human relations with police personnel. Also this afternoon, some social media users expressed displeasure over government's call on Ghanaians to support the construction of a national cathedral to be commissioned on March 6, 2024 with 100 cedis support a month. We have details of those conversations on social media. Plus, the Public Services Commission is this afternoon directing government agencies to immediately implement the shift system and encourage workers to also take their leave as part of wide-ranging measures to break the chain of COVID-19 infections at workplaces. On The Pulse this afternoon, we have the latest update on the rise in infections of COVID-19 in the country. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember, we're also streaming live on YouTube and all our social media handles. Tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is @Nana Aisha. Always a pleasure to host you. Many thanks for choosing us. This afternoon, Inspector General of Police James Opon-Bueno says he's proud to be bowing out of the service at a time Ghana is regarded as the second most peaceful country on the continent. The IGP's 3-year tenure has not been without controversy after a rise in robbery cases and unresolved high-profile murders. Speaking at a pull-out and farewell ceremony held in his honor, James Opon-Bueno also pledged his total support to his successor, Dr. George Akufo-Dampare. My colleague Kwekwa Sante has more in this report.
Please shall we take our seats?
His tenure as IGP was rocked with some controversies, including the now infamous Ghana is not having comments when responding to concerns about rising rate of crime in the country. But after 33 years of dedicated service, Inspector General of Police James Opon-Bueno is pulling out as a police officer and handing over to incoming acting IGP George Akufo-Dampare. James Opon-Bueno has been IGP since 2019 when President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo elevated him from his role as Deputy IGP.
Address. Reprise.
At a very colorful ceremony at the police training school Friday, top hierarchy of the police service gathered to bid farewell to him as he proceeds on leave pending his retirement from 1st August.
Pull out when they get to you, and we may have.
For outgoing IGP James Opon-Bueno, Ghana being declared as the second most peaceful country in the continent is a remarkable achievement of his tenure.
I'm leaving the scene at a period that Ghana has been ranked by the 2021 Global Peace Index report as the second most peaceful country in the sub-Saharan African region behind Mauritius. It is important to underline that the role of the security agencies, which are internally led by the police service, cannot be overemphasized. In the midst of resource constraints and other organizational challenges, we have supported our dear country to attain this global accolade. I believe we can do more to become one of the most peaceful countries in the world with the right leadership and policies and the continuous regular supply of much-needed resources to the service.
He rose through the ranks of the police administration from being station officer to chief of staff to then IGP between 1990 and 1996 and occupied other very senior roles in the police hierarchy as Director General of some of the various departments.
He has served the Ghana Police Service for 33 years. Today, Inspector General of Police, IGP James Opon-Bueno, is handing over to incoming acting Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare. According to IGP, who is going to spend his last day in office today before going on retirement, one of his biggest achievements is the idea that Ghana has been touted as the second most peaceful country. This IGP has been in office and there have been a number of turbulent times, particularly armed robberies, bullion vans attacks.
James Oponbuenu handed over to his named successor, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare.
The IGP is responsible for a number of things. He's responsible for ensuring that the functions
He assured him his doors will always be open to him for advice and suggestions.
Joining me to discuss this is Dr. Ishmael Norman. He's president of the Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies, and he'll be helping us to understand the legacy of Mr. Oponbuenu and also what Dr. Dampare brings on board. Dr. Norman, I'm grateful for your time. Let's start with the legacies of Mr. Oponbuenu. Generally, what will be your assessment of his tenure?
Thank you, Aisha. I hope you're doing well today. Mr. Oponbuenu, I think he has been an affable man all along, even though some of us took opportunity to pick on him occasionally. I think generally he was a good man. The legacy definitely will go to, whether by accident or by default, the legacy will go to the fact that during his term or tenure, Ghana has continued to remain peaceful. But I think it will be a cheap shot for him to take the credit for it completely, because the situation, the security situation in Ghana, that Ghana is peaceful, is not attributable to only one individual, one IGP, or even the military, or even the president. It depends on the people of Ghana as well. So I think we should definitely commend him for what he has done, but Ghanaians should also be proud of themselves for having contributed to the peaceful situation or image of Ghana as it is now.
Now, many have described Dr. George Dampare as the man for the job at this particular time in Ghana. What's your own assessment of Dr. Dampare and what he brings on the table?
All right. I think Dr. Dampare is probably the kind of man that we have all been looking for a very long time in terms of preparedness, professional preparedness, and qualification. He's been a very lucky man for having occupied just about every directorate in the chain of command of the service. All in all, he's probably the best suited person at this time to be the IGP. But here is where the problem lies. In his accomplishment lies the deep-seated weaknesses which he came with and which will begin to emerge, or probably have already emerged within the time that, since the time that he was appointed or elevated. And why do I say this? Dr. Ekufu-Dampare did not rise to the top of where he is all by himself. Every professional clamp within any organization is assisted by a lot of people. It's not a one-man journey. This is not a Johnny Walker moment when he walks alone. You cannot walk alone in an organization like that and get to the top. That means that it has to be demure all throughout. You cannot be a browser when you are in a situation like that. You have to be a compromiser. Sometimes you have to be the guy who says nothing in the room, and then you are imbued with intelligence and wisdom, as the good book, the Bible, says. So he owes a lot of people a lot of credit. Not only people in civilian life with power connections, but also police officers, both high and low, that have assisted him to get to where he is. this is where the crunch comes in. Because he owes a lot of people, he has to be very tactful, very, very diplomatic, because these people will come to collect their debt. They will come to collect their investment. And that is when he may be severely compromised. And the politicians will come, the civilians will come. If he's from a large family, family members will come. So, yes, he's good. Yes, he's got all the credentials to succeed. But there is a big schism that he needs to cross. And that will be all the people that will assisted him to climb to the top. He cannot turn around and spit on them. It would not be a good thing for him to do. And so there may be moments when they come to collect the debt that he owes them, the gratitude that he owes them. He may have to bend over backwards and may become compromised and may not be able to achieve his own aspirations, let alone that of the broader society.
Now, Dr. Norman, today I was happy to hear that Mr. Opombwenu himself admits that he could have done more, even though he touted his achievements. What should be Dr. Dampare's focus right now as he takes over that hot seat?
He should learn from his predecessors, and luckily they are all around, so that he can learn from them. That now he's got Honorable Opombwenu, then he's got Honorable Apietu, and they are all there, and Kodalo, and all of them, they are there. So he can learn from them. He should never distance himself from them. They can learn from their mistakes so that he can become a more resilient leader. When there's political pressure, he needs to meet with these men and learn from them, and also his subordinates. As far as being successful, I think that at the end of his service, I think that he is going to make similar statement as Mr. Opombwenu has said, because the political pressure is what will make it difficult. There is a glass ceiling against whatever it is that he wants to do, and he may have to find a novel approach to overcome that, because it is going to be there, whether he likes it or not. He cannot operate as an island. If he goes against the grain, the political grain, it's going to be a very interesting moment in Ghana's police, civilian government history.
And we've all been talking about the security situation in our country. Recently, we've seen a number of increase in criminal activities. As he takes over today, what's the most important thing, the one most important thing you want to see him tackle?
Crime. There are a lot of skills in the Ghana Police as we speak. A lot of competent men and women who are very good, probably better at crime fighting than him. He should rely on these men to do the job for him so he can take the credit. And he must bring those men closer to him and ensure that the country is even safer the way he found it when he's about to leave or when he's leaving. So I think he's a very wise man. I like him personally. I have spoken, I have communicated with him since his elevation, and I think he's determined to do a good job. And because of the fact that he has occupied previously almost all the directorates within the Ghana Police Service, he won't be able to go back to all his co-workers, all his colleagues, and get them to do the right thing to defend this country's sanity against crime, organized crime, violent crimes, and so on and so forth. So I do have a lot of hope for him, but I also feel for him because he's going to run his head against the political power structure, and they're going to try to mold him according to their ways and means.
Now that you acknowledge the fact that there's this hurdle that he will definitely would have to deal with, how do you recommend he crosses it? Because you know for sure it will come his way.
I think that he has to be his own man, so far in the history of Ghanaian IGPs, I don't think we have seen a total IGP that was his own man. Maybe when a woman is appointed, we can see that happening. But for now, it has to be his own man to be very successful, to be exemplary. If he's going to just do business as usual, like his predecessors have done, kowtowing to the political pressure, it's not going to be that successful. And his success will be mundane like everybody else.
What I pick is that he must not kowtow to the politicians. I'm grateful for your time, Dr. Ishmael Norman. He's president of the Institute for Security, Disaster and Emergency Studies. And now let's move on to COVID-19 because the Public Services Commission has directed government agencies to immediately implement the shift system and encourage workers to also take their leave. It is part of the wide-ranging measures to break the chain of COVID-19 infections at workplaces. The Ghana Health Service, in its recent update, identified workplace outbreaks as one of the major sources of infections contributing to the country's third wave. Many of those cases are now critical, with ICUs now stretched. The Public Services Commission says it is important to now decongest the offices to break the chain of infections. Let's get more on this because Dr. Janet Ampedu-Fofie, who's chairperson of the Public Services Commission, joins us via Zoom. First, tell us why the Public Services Commission is issuing this circular at this time.
Good afternoon, and thank you to you, and good afternoon to your listeners from the Public Services Commission. We're grateful to come and share with you this circular that we just reissued. Actually, it's a reissue. It's not a new publication. So this is the third time we've had to go back to the public services journey to remind all of us, both the public services and those of our clients who come into our offices, to be mindful of this very, very serious situation that we are confronted with. The first circular actually was issued in March of 2020. It was reissued when COVID started getting out of control in 2021, January of 2021. And with the current upsurge, the Commission met and found it necessary to remind all public service organizations that those guidelines that were given and provided to them early on still have to be adhered to. And so this is a reminder. It's not a new one that we're coming out with, but it's just a reissue to remind everybody in the public services, both the governing boards that are already in place, those that are yet to come in, the leaders of the public services, our CEOs and the like, to ensure that we continue adhering to the guidelines that were published early on, the two earlier ones in 2020 and earlier this year.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all we are reinforcing and reiterating is that, as it's obvious and from the President's address, the 26th update that we got, we all now know that Delta is here, and it's not a joke. And so we need to be very, very careful, and we need to go back to all the things that we are supposed to be doing. So we're asking the governing boards and councils and the CEOs, the leadership of the public services of Ghana, to go back and remind and put these things in writing to all our people, and particularly our staff. But we also want to remind the public that do come to us in our offices, that indeed when they come in, they need to be ready to adhere if indeed we are to continue doing the work that we are expected to do. So generally, it's not a new circular, it's a reissue of a circular that has been put out there already, and we're asking our managers, we're asking our leaders to pick it up and to reissue at their level and let everybody know that indeed COVID is still here, and as directed by the President, we are to adhere to all the guidelines. Okay. And so this is an effort in that line.
So let's look at the guidelines that you have issued. Exactly what do you demand employers to do?
Indeed, if you look at it, there are a few things that we're asking us to continue adhering to. We're to limit as much as possible the face-to-face interactions. The period that COVID has been with us has shown us and proven to all of us that indeed we can continue doing our business and continue doing working on our mandates. But we don't always have to meet people face-to-face. So we're asking them to limit as much as possible all face-to-face contacts, meetings, conferences, workshops, and the like. In addition, we're asking them to seriously consider all the alternative technology advances that we have. Zoom is with us. Government has deployed teams, and at this point, all public service organizations and entities should have the Zoom, which is really the approved method of communication, electronic communication by the public sector. And we are all to use the virtual applications that are available to us, the WhatsApps and all of that, and limit as much as possible the face-to-face contacts. We're also asking for the managers and for the governing boards to ensure that indeed the supply of the sanitizers and the running water and all the things that we need to make sure that indeed we are adhering to the protocols that have been laid out by the Ghana Health Service are in place. Because we cannot just talk about them. We as managers will have to make sure that these things are available for the use of our staff as well as for those who come to visit us. Social distancing, again, very, very important. I think at the last check, most public service were running shifts, they were working from home, they were working all forms of hybrid work environments. So some were combining it, encouraging public officers to continue these hybrid work environments. And we're not telling you to do one or the other. You need to look at your circumstances and adopt the ones that are most favorable in terms of what you have to do to make sure that we limit these contacts as much as possible. So these are the main ones that we're encouraging most of our people to continue adhering to. And we're hopeful that they've done this and done it very well in the past. So we're continuing to rely on them that they'll continue adhering to this so that COVID will be kept to a minimum as far as the workplace is concerned.
Dr. Fofie, are these measures binding? If they are, what are the monitoring? Do you have a monitoring scheme to monitor and see if people are really abiding by this? And if they do not, are there sanctions for flouters of this guideline?
I think the guidelines in the public services, we try to actually encourage and all of us to adhere to them. So the sanctions are important, but especially with what we are presented with COVID, the sanctions are not the most important. We have to appeal to the consciences and to our leaders to lead and to make sure that indeed they are monitoring. The Public Services Commission cannot go to every public service entity to monitor. We monitor through reports that we request and have sent to us. So we can tell. For example, we want public service organizations to share with us what are the measures that they put in place in terms of getting this done. And so they will send us their recommendations or what they actually have in place. And we will review them and share with each other the ones that are working and the ones that are not working. But when it comes to the implementation, the Commission's work really is to make sure that people have these guidelines and they are to report back to us in terms of how they're implementing these guidelines. We trust and we've had our leaders do a pretty good job with the implementation, and the boards, the senior managers, the CEOs and their deputies are the primary people responsible for ensuring that these things are done. And where there are problems, we encourage them to come so that we can all get together and think through. We work very, very closely with the Ghana Health Services, for example. And so when there's something that we need, if there are referrals that we need to make to them, we are in constant touch with the Director General, Ghana Health Service, and with all the services, so that when issues come, we can very, very quickly group and get together and find solutions for them particularly with the COVID and the situation that we have on our hands at this time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Janet Ampedu Fofie. She's chairperson for the Public Services Commissions that issued this circulation and warning workplaces to put in place measures to help contain the spread of COVID-19 virus. Now, President Akufo-Addo says government will allocate additional resources to the education sector to address increasing access and infrastructure as a result of the free senior high school program. 23% of the country's budget goes into the sector, but the free access has exposed challenges impacting on quality. Addressing a global summit on education in London, the president said government is fully committed to ensuring every Ghanaian child has access to education.
I don't believe that we have an option. We have to try and maintain a balance in all these expenditures because each part of it is critical to the lives of our people and to our future. What is our goal? And I think it is the goal of all of us on the continent. The transformation of our economies from raw material producing economies to value added economies.
Right.
We move away from being just providers of natural resources to value added economies.
Right.
But that is not going to be possible if we don't have educated workforce.
Yep.
So it is linked, and it therefore requires that the investments that we have to make for ensuring that not just as many, but all our children have the opportunity to go to school right from kindergarten through primary to secondary through tertiary education is guaranteed.
Right.
And I cannot see that making sure that the population is healthy and also the population getting educated can be conflicting aims that therefore require. We have to make efforts.
With the free senior high school program now a reality, President Akufo-Addo indicates government is looking at replicating it at the tertiary level.
Achieve both targets.
Right.
And that is what we're trying to do in Ghana. We're spending, as we speak now, some 23% of our budget on education in Ghana. It's one of the highest on the continent. And we intend to ramp it up even more because as you widen access, which we have done through primary, through secondary, the free senior high school project, which has brought nearly 500,000 more students to the secondary system that was before.
Right.
Clearly also you have problems of infrastructure.
Right.
Challenges of classrooms and numbers, etc.
Right.
So those also have to be accommodated. And that therefore means that as we're expanding the numbers, we're also going to be increasing the infrastructure.
Right.
More and more money.
Right.
So in Ghana, we've taken the decision that we're going full scale ahead now that we have widened public education at the secondary school level to all and sundry, to try and replicate it also at the tertiary level.
Okay.
Until recently, if you wanted to get a student loan in Ghana, you had to find a guarantor. Somebody who would come and say, we've removed the guarantor requirement. If you have the Ghana National Card, you can now go on the basis of that and get the loan, which is also going to mean a significant expansion of education at the tertiary level.
Yes.
These steps are steps that are absolutely critical for our future.
Right.
We don't do it, we will not be able to make any kind of a fist at getting to our basic goal, which is the structural transformation of our economies. So for us, it's not an either-or situation. It cannot be. We have to be able to manage our economies and our relations with our friends and people on the outside in such a way that we can attain both goals.
Fantastic.
Lives and livelihoods are both the key to the future for us. And we will hopefully continue and be in a position to do.
President Akufo-Addo there. Meanwhile, Minister for Education, Dr. Yao Edichum, has, on behalf of the President of Ghana, pledged to commit at least 23% of the national budget from 2021 to 2025 towards education development. This commitment is to help train the assertive and critical mass of Ghanaian youth for the 21st century, according to him. He has also been speaking at the ongoing Global Education Summit, where he says the country last year committed a total of 23% of the nation's budget towards the development of education in the country. With this pledge, the country has exceeded the global 20% benchmark. We're still live on The Pulse. We've been talking about a number of issues and with updates for you. We'll take a break. There is more when we return. Welcome back to The Pulse. This afternoon, government is donating 5 containers of rosewood impounded at the Tema port to the construction of the National Cathedral. The containers, which are being evacuated from the port today, were marked for inspection after the Energy Commission raised red flags that they could be containing illegal charcoal. Even though the harvesting, transportation and export of the rosewood have been banned since 2013, several investigations have revealed illegal trade of the endangered species still continues. Now, as investigations are carried out to identify and apprehend the owners of these 5 containers, the Lands Minister Samuel Abujinapo has announced all confiscated rosewood will be donated to the construction of the National Cathedral.
No rosewood is to be exported outside the shores of Ghana. No rosewood is to be exported outside the shores of Ghana. Under no circumstances are we to permit the export of rosewood outside the shores of Ghana. So I'm here to observe for myself, and I must quickly admit that I'm absolutely satisfied with the work of customs and with the work of the port officials, because the rosewood which was attempted to be smuggled out of this port, which has been confiscated, as was widely reported, had 5 containers of rosewood. And as you can see, all the 5 containers are right here. Container 1 is here, container 2 is there, container 3 is there, container 4 is there, and container 5. They are all accounted for. Government is taking the decision to donate all rosewood confiscated towards the construction of the National Cathedral. So in addition to the ban on the export of rosewood, there will not even be public auction for purposes of domestic use of rosewood. All rosewood confiscated should and will be donated to the National Cathedral for us to construct the National Cathedral for the good people of this country. When the National Cathedral turns out to have enough of rosewood, we will take other measures, either to donate it to other public institutions, and if we're even minded at any stage to have a public auction for domestic use, be rest assured that it will be done in a sense, with a sense of integrity.
The minister also says investigations are currently underway to establish the culpability of those identified as owners of the containers for onwards prosecution.
The report I have from the very able and dependable Deputy Minister, Honorable Benito Usibio, is that they've submitted all of that. And investigations have been conducted, and as we speak, we have identified the companies and individuals who are behind this. We have to always come to grips with the issues and unpack them. The criminal aspects of these conduct will be handled by the Ghana Police Service. If you export rosewood out of Ghana, per the rules that we've put out, that constitutes a criminal offense, and the Ghana Police Service will do that. So whatever consequential criminal action in terms of investigation or prosecution, we expect that the Ghana Police Service will take that up. But for the purposes of my visit, what I wanted to be assured of, and what I wanted to come and satisfy myself, was that the ban that has been put in place is being enforced, and enforced strictly, and that these 5 containers which have been confiscated are accounted for. Thankfully, I can see that the ban is being enforced. If they were not enforced, we would not have seized the containers we have. And secondly, as all of you can see, as we say in Ghana, Fili Gadochi, the containers are here. We all can see the containers. And then I'm saying, yeah, we will find it. Well, we will look at it, let the investigation be concluded. I mean, if the investigations are concluded, they are found to have flouted the law, we at the ministry will be interested in the law being enforced. And if the laws are being enforced, we will all know who they are. Yes.
Samuel Abujinapo believes the decision to donate the confiscated rosewood to the National Cathedral will positively impact the fight against the illegal trade of rosewood.
Yeah, but everywhere in the world, that's the first thing we have to appreciate. Everywhere in the world, natural resources, where we are talking about money, you cannot eradicate it. So that one, we all have to accept it. There is no way you can ban completely the export of cocaine or the trade in cocaine. It's not possible. Our duty is that we put in place the right measures. And I believe that you will see that we are taking all the necessary steps to protect the natural resources of our country. So if people continue to harvest, and my own sense is that this measure we've put in, without doubt, I'm very confident, without doubt, will deal a big blow to the whole cartel, because the value of the wood is in the export. There's no value on rosewood here in Ghana. The industry, the manufacturing industry, which requires rosewood in terms of cruise ships and cars and all of those things, they are in Europe, so they are not in Ghana. So once we enforce the ban, it will definitely make an impact.
From August 1, which is Sunday, it will be illegal for anybody to hunt, capture or destroy any wild animal except grass cutter, which can be done only under license issued by the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission. This is because of the ban on hunting. The closed season is to regulate the utilization and curbing of the decline of wildlife resources in Ghana and ensuring sustainable use of the resource. Let's get more on this. And joining me via Zoom is Ernestina Edumia Ani. She's Public Relations Manager at the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission. I'm grateful for your time. Why has the ban become necessary? Kindly unmute
very much. Before I go on to the Thank you very much. Before I go on to the ban, I want to say good afternoon to all your listeners and all the Forestry Commission staff. Executive Director, Mr. Samuel Boateng. Yes, we have the ban, which will take effect from 1st August to 1st December of this year, 2021. And the reason why we are actually regulating these animals is that they have a lot of importance for Ghana as a country. So the law is to regulate the population and decline all the that affect this animal to decline. So we are actually taking effects of this law from 1st August to 1st December 2021 to ensure that these animals actually populate so that it can help us in various areas of the socio-economic development of the country.
Now, how do we intend to go about this? Because it looks like a tough one.
Yes, we actually are intending to go about it by enforcing the law. And the Wildlife Division enforcing the law collaborates with everybody in the country. Actually, our mandate is to collaborate with everybody in the country to ensure that we optimize these wildlife animals for the socio-economic benefits of the country. So it's a collaboration between wildlife, the general public, and the security agencies and all stakeholders to ensure that these animals are protected and conserved and managed so that they will be regularized and also populate so that we can get other means of importance from these animals. Actually, the animals are our culture, they are our heritage, and we have to conserve them for the future generation. And there are a lot of importance that these animals give to us. One is the ecotourism. You know, ecotourism is been in Kenya, Zambia, it's been in South Africa, and it's giving them a lot of money actually to develop their country. So if we're able to regularize this animal, what happens is that we will get a lot of revenue from ecotourism, from art and crafts, from clothing and textiles, from food. Actually, restaurants also use these animals. So in order to sustain these animals for our culture and heritage, we need to actually observe this wildlife law to ensure that.
Now, so we're talking about enforcement. Definitely, we need to talk about sanctions. What sanctions do apply to people who are likely to flout this rule?
Yes, the sanction is that usually when these those who go against the law are arrested, they are taken to the police station. And in the police station, they are going to gather your information and then send you to court. So when you go to court, the judge will be the one to judge accordingly as to what fine to give to whoever went against the law. So when you go to court, it is the judge, the counts of the judge, that is going to actually accumulate to give you the fine. And sometimes you go to prison. So it's either the fine or you are imprisoned or both. So that is how it is. And it depends on the judge, usually.
I'm grateful for your time. Ernestina Adumia Anishi's PRO of the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission. I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. Now, the Tamale Archdiocese of the Catholic Church is set to plant 1 million share trees in its 10-year strategic development plan in the Savannah Ecological Zone. To achieve this, the church will partner the Global Share Alliance to plant at least 20 hectares of share trees each year for the 10-year period. This is to support women improve their incomes and livelihood. Speaking ahead of the launch of the strategic plan tomorrow, the Archbishop of the Tamale Archdiocese, Most Reverend Philip Name, said they will also plant other fast-growing trees like acacia, cashew, and rosewood. He says the church will require 50,000 hectares of land in its operational areas to be able to achieve these objectives, especially in the area of agriculture. Most Reverend Name said the reason why the church is requiring so much land is also to train young people to enter into farming.
We are going to partner with the Global Share Alliance and to plant at least 20 hectares of land per year. And for the strategic plan life of 10 years, 8,000 hectares of share trees. This translates into 1 million share trees. This is what we would like to plant. We also like to plant other trees apart from share, like acacia, which is a fast-growing tree, cashew, rosewood for cash purposes, and for economic gain. In this, we would like to partner with the Forestry Commission to do all of this. So this is what we intend to do with agriculture. The reason why we are acquiring so much land is also to train young people to enter into. In that way, we will be assisting government also in the fight against unemployment.
Away from Tamale, some social media users have expressed displeasure over government's call on Ghanaians to support the construction of a national cathedral to be commissioned on March 6, 2024 with 100 Ghana cedis a month. Finance Minister Kenneth Furiata, while presenting the 2020 mid-year review budget statement and economic policy on Thursday, urged all, including members of parliament, to be part of the 1 million Ghanaians projected to support the initiative dubbed Ketewa Bienswa with 100 cedis a month. He notes Ghanaians could support the noble cause by dialing the short code 979#.
The 100 cedis a month club, also dubbed Ketewa Bienswa, will be launched by the trustees of the National Cathedral on August 12, 2021 to give as many Ghanaians as possible the opportunity to be part of the history to build the National Cathedral. The aim of the club is to raise 1 million Ghanaians who will give 100 cedis a month for the construction of the National Cathedral. A special short code 979 has been developed for this purpose. We look forward to Mr. Speaker and all the members of this august House joining the 100 cedis a month club.
This call, according to some Ghanaians, is misplaced. They say the government should rather look at raising revenue to improve the health and education sectors, as well as provide Ghanaians with good roads and other social amenities. For them, the aforementioned issue matters that government should rally financial support for.
No, I'm not going to pay. Why should I pay this? Because with all that we are going through, look at how our businesses are falling, and you want us to pay for Cathedral for what? And who is going to be there to be serviced or to be worshipped?
No, I'm not willing, and I don't think I will pay. If should government go around to be asking citizens to pay or contribute to the building of the National Cathedral, I don't think it's right. I think if the government, he has taken the initiative to build it, he has to do it. But for the citizens to contribute to it, I don't think it's right.
Oh no, I will not pay. I will not pay because we have a lot of church buildings in this country. And me too, I have the church that I attend. So I don't see the need to contribute to build another church.
If building the cathedral will help the cause for people to worship their maker, I don't mind helping pay for the cathedral.
No, I don't think it's necessary because there are a lot of auditoriums in Ghana here, which I think we can use some of it to do those church activities. There's no need for us to do any cathedral.
Me, dear, I don't know. I can't. Because there's nothing that I can pay off. Because if you give me something, then you return it. So it's a payback. But you haven't given me anything. Me rather is voting for you than paying you them the same time. So what country are we now?
Let's now get on phone and speak with the National Cathedral Secretary of the Board of Trustees, Reverend Victor Kusi-Boateng. I'm grateful for your time, sir. You heard from the people, even though the call by the Finance Minister is voluntary, people don't seem enthused about the donation. What do you say to those who say there are more pressing issues that the public should support rather than the Catholic? The cathedral.
I'm very grateful. Thank you very much, my sister. Listening to what I listened to, it's so obvious that I must accept that we have not educated the people enough, and people really don't understand what it is for in the first place. Secondly, let me bring this clarity. It is the trustees that are making an appeal for people to help us support the government to build. It is not the government that is making the appeal.
Okay.
That clarity has to come. It is the trustees that feel, because when the president commissioned the Board of Trustees, he was so plain that we're going to help him raise funds from the beginning to help build the cathedral. The president gave us a vision for a cathedral to say thank you to the Lord for protecting us from all the things that our neighbors have been through, and for saving us from a lot of things, and for preserving Ghana to be where it is. Now, one thing that we've got to understand as a nation is that there is nothing that shall be done that every single person will benefit from. For example, if a road is constructed in maybe a place like Wale Wale, I pay taxes. I might never use the Wale Wale road. That does not mean that because I will not ply the road, I should rise up and fight against the road. There are 70%, so to say, Ghanaians who are Christians. And I believe that it is not every one of them that will embrace such a vision. But at least there are also a very high number of people that are ready for us to do what we are doing. let's make this point very clear. We are not building a church building. We are building a national cathedral. Why is it that in the United Kingdom, before they became a superpower, before they became the nation that they were, they incorporated a cathedral in their national building agenda? France did the same. America did the same. Spain did the same. All these countries, go to Norway, they did the same. They all brought national cathedral into the infrastructure development and into their nation building. One thing that people don't really understand is that as much as it is just not coming from the pocket of the government, but the churches have taken it upon ourselves to contribute to see to it that the national cathedral is built to the glory of God, is that it is not another church, but it is a place where every other religion can converge and then come together as one body and then represent ourselves well as believers who have come together to make a statement that we are all in one belief. My sister, I want you to understand, and I pray that my listeners also really get to understand, that in this country, we're here when His Excellency President J.J. Rawlings died. Look at where he was laid in state. If it had rained, what would have happened? The biggest place that this nation has is International Conference Center, which takes 1,400 people. In the event that it was not even a national cathedral, the national issues were not going to be done there. We don't have a place that can take 5,000 up to 20,000 people, which of course is the capacity of the National Cathedral. Besides the other auditoriums that could be rented and that could be utilized, besides the other things that will be done there, the music schools and the other things that will be done there. Now, in Notre Dame, when it got burnt, you realize that people contributed 1.3 billion euros within a matter of a month. Why? Because 1.3 million people were visiting Notre Dame every single month. You can imagine the economic impact that the 1.3 million visits made in Notre Dame. Now, we are not just building a national cathedral. We are also building the second largest Bible museum, where the story of Africa and the story of Ghana and the story of the black race will be told in connectivity with Christianity. I can't go into details of that. But that is also another serious tourist establishment that no African country has ever done. The last but not the least, we are building what we call the biblical garden, where every fruit and vegetable in the Bible will be seen, will be grown, will be seen. And then there will be a biblical restaurant whereby you can eat what you see, which of course the things we had read in the Bible will be practically cooked for people to eat physically right here in Ghana. What are we doing? We are trying to build what we call a religious tourism, whereby we are trying to divert some of the traffic to Israel to Ghana. So as much as we are not just building a church, but we are building a national cathedral with a spiritual significance, a physical significance, and an economic significance, we are building something that will change the dynamics of the tourism industry.
Reverend, over the years, there have been questions that have been raised about source of funding. Now that you are asking people to support, what happens if you don't get the people joining the donation drive? How will the trustees sustain funding?
You've got to understand that as much as people say they won't, there are people that are just when we announced it, there was somebody that gave us 2 million Ghana cedis. People are giving. Even though people are fighting it, the people that are giving it are more than the people that are fighting it. So we are very optimistic. And in our strategy, it is not just Ghana here. We have stretched forth our hands to America, to England, and it will amaze you the kind of responses we are having. How people are so excited that Ghana is building such a thing, such a religious tourism thing, and how people are ready to give in millions. At the right time, the figures will come out, and you will see that if Ghanaians don't help build, there are also people outside this country that are ready to build. But the bottom line is that this cathedral will be dedicated to the Lord by the 6th of March 2024, like the finance minister said.
I'm grateful for your time. Reverend Kusi Boateng, he's a secretary to the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral.
I'm secretary to the Board of Trustees.
I'm grateful that you joined us this afternoon.
Thank you.
We're still live on the polls, and of course, we'll be getting to go to Parliament to get more from there. But let's talk fix the country now. And after months of back and forth with police on getting clearance to embark on demonstration, the social media movement is expected to go on its protest now. Let's get more on what will happen for this protest. Before that, let's see this. It's finally here. Let's get more from the organizers. And joining me for a conversation is Ura Ado. He's a member of the Fix the Country movement. We've learned this happened in London earlier today. What's the plan for August 4? Kindly unmute for me, Ura.
Can you hear me?
Great. Loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you very much, and a good afternoon to your listeners. As we all saw, it happened in London today, and it was Ghanaians living in London standing in solidarity with what would happen on the 4th of August in Accra. And it was an amazing experience, and it was an interesting sight to behold as well. On the 4th of August, we plan to have our Fix the Country protest at starting from Circle, which is Obra Sports. We're hoping to gather at the Obra Sports from 7 a.m. and then we'll proceed with a march through the Kwame Nkrumah Avenue. We get to Frontline Pharmacy and take a left on the Paris School traffic lights. We'll go through Accra Technical University, get to Kimbu, the Kimbu Secondary School, get to the AMA head office, and then we'll go to the Arts Center and end up at the Independence Square. So that's the plan for the 4th of August in a nutshell.
But amazingly, COVID-19 was one of the issues raised, the reason why the police didn't allow you to have your protest the last time. Interestingly, we're in a third wave now and they're allowing you. What really changed? How did you convince them?
I think all throughout, the court even made it very clear that COVID should not be a reason to stop people from protesting. I mean, the most important thing is to ensure that there's protocol or there are guidelines that are given out to people who would want to embark on any demonstration or a protest to exercise their fundamental constitutional rights. So I think it's just a matter of abiding by the COVID protocols and abiding by the protocols that has been adopted by the World Health Organization. You would recall that on the 9th of, in our planned protest for the 9th of May, we highlighted or we observed that even 18 months after COVID came into this country, we have not seen any guideline or protocols from the government on COVID measures for protests. And we were expecting that at least government would have given us a guideline for protesting. But nonetheless, we have also taken into consideration and taken appropriate steps by engaging public health experts who have advised us on COVID measures or COVID-19 safety measures, basically.
All right, so everything is now cleared with the police, right?
Everything is cleared with the police, and come the 4th of May, the police are going to give us the necessary security details as well.
So how does the group intend to ensure that the COVID protocols are observed?
If you're going by the science of COVID, I mean, the science of COVID, and according to the World Health Organization, yes, vaccination seems to be effective when it comes to dealing with COVID. Then again, the most effective way is to mask up and maintain your social distance. So basically, if we're all in our mask and we are all ensuring that we have safety, we're maintaining a safety social distancing mechanism, then we should be fine. As part of this, we have deployed marshals who would be on the day, who would be guiding the people or protesters as to how to go about the distancing and ensuring that everyone has their mask on. We would also provide free masks for people who might show up without the mask. But we encourage everyone to show up at the protest, on the day of the protest, to show up in a mask and be ready to also social distance, take into consideration all the social distancing protocols.
All the best, Ora, on the 4th of August as you embark on this much-awaited protest. And Ora Ado is a member of the Fix the Country campaign. Now, the VIP transport has opened a new terminal today at Ring Road West here in Accra to serve the people of the 5 northern regions. It intends to transform and expand their services, which involves traveling with passengers taking into consideration the COVID protocols and passenger security. The Director for Planning of the National Road Safety Commission, Engineer David Adonting, was present to support the commissioning.
Issue some directives, the National Road Safety Authority, for them, the transport operators in particular, one for terminal management and operations with respect to pre-departure checks. And as you can see, there's somebody we have branded here as a road safety officer. He is the one stationed here 24/7 with all his colleagues, making sure that every bus that leaves the terminal is well checked. He has inspected the vehicle in terms of structural integrity. He has also ensured that the drivers are well rested and they comply with all the rules before they hit the road running. That is the first step. Now, as they go, we also monitor them at various rest stops to see, especially Lindador on the Accra-Kumasi Highway and the rest. And we check if they have the co-driver, which means they are complying with another directive that we issued, that long distances must have 2 drivers. And we have seen VIP, STC, and a couple of them complying. We have also issued one with regards to driver training. At the moment, the DVLA is putting in place some procedures for them to access training from the National Drivers Academy. I am part of them, and I have seen VIP made even an advanced discussion with the National Drivers Academy, where they are arranging to see how they can train all their drivers in Accra, in Kumasi, in Sunyani, and across the country.
The General Manager of VIP Transport in Accra, Mr. Adakabre Frimpong Manso, discloses the next plan for.
The next plan for VIP is for in August 2021. We are going to open a very large state-of-the-art terminal in Tamale. Then we will announce which one comes in, and those in contention is Wa, Techimai, and Sahirioso. So between Wa, Techimai, and Sahirioso, in Tamale next month, we will decide which of them gets the nod for the next building that we are putting up.
Let's now go to Parliament, where my colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is standing by to give us more on all the happenings in the House. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, we are aware about the controversial LGBTQ plus discussions ongoing because that bill will be laid on Monday. And we're also aware of the report that should be submitted on the Sputnik V investigations and others that are happening in Parliament. Bring us up to speed.
Contracts. Well, the update on that is that the House couldn't take that report to allow for the necessary debate and possible adoption of it. We gather that some final details of that particular report are being worked on. Today is actually the deadline that Parliament gave the 9-member committee chaired by Alexander Penyomakin to then submit its report to the House on this particular probe. But gathering indicate that communication had actually gone from the committee asking for some documentation, because as we know, there had been the issuing of various letters of credit to allow for the purchase of some of these vaccines, which there's a bit of controversy about whether the said amount had been paid or otherwise. We gather that there was an attempt by the committee to solicit some more clarification from the finance minister on this. We know that the health minister is the only individual who actually appeared before the committee as far as ministers are concerned to respond to questions on this. He appeared with his head of legal as well as his director of supply chain and his chief director to come respond to questions. No such communication went to the finance minister to appear before the committee, but we gather that behind the scenes the committee has sought to get some clarification from the finance minister on this, and those documents are expected, which will then finalize its report. So that report did not come to the House today, which is actually the deadline. The minority leader, Hayan Idrisu, made the point on the floor of the House that next week, before the House goes ahead to adjourn on Friday, space should be made so that then by then the committee would have finalized the report, and then they would then go ahead and present it to the plenary for the necessary debate and approval. We gather that there are some disagreements at the level of the committee in terms of what some of the recommendations should be, and also what some of the facts as were gathered when the committee went ahead with its public probe. And those are the things that they're hoping to finalize by early next week, so that then before the close of the week, the report will be submitted and then the necessary approval will be done. On the bit having to do with the anti-gay bill, as it's come to be called, that is still yet to be brought to the House officially to allow for the necessary debate on it. Well, we see in the business statement, which is the outline of business that the House will be doing next week, that that is something that the House will be dealing with next week, Monday. And what will be happening on Monday is what is called the presentation and first reading of the bill, during which we're expecting that the MPs who are actually championing it will offer some explanation on what this particular bill is all about and then what it's expected to achieve, after which the Speaker would refer the bill to one of the committees of Parliament, most likely the Committee on Constitution and Legal Affairs, and then they would go deliberate on it, and possibly somewhere in October, when the House resumes sitting from its long break, they will then go ahead and do what is called the second reading of the bill, during which they will debate the principles of the bill, and then after that, there will be the necessary possible amendment, and then if there isn't so much of that to be done, then it will be approved by the House. So it's very much likely that it will take quite a while before the bill eventually gets approved. But we're expecting that on Monday, that particular first presentation of the bill will be done by the 8 members of Parliament who are championing this particular bill. And we know that this is a private member's bill, one that is not being brought in by the Attorney General. So We're waiting to see how things will unfold next week, Monday, when Samuel George, Emmanuel Bedra, Reverend John Ntim Fojo, and 5 other MPs go ahead and present this bill for the first reading. Aisha.
Joseph Opoku-Gakpo there with the updates from Parliament. We'll be bringing you more on Parliament in our subsequent bulletin. But away from Parliament, it's a boy's wish and the race by companies to make it memorable for him. When Class 3 pupil Oswald wrote a passionate Our Day list to his mom, he did not know that letter will go viral on social media platform Twitter and trigger an endless list of donations on the last day of school before recess. Maxwell Agbagba spent the day with Oswald in his school.
This is perhaps going to be the most memorable our day for the students here at Christ Ambassadors. Well, in the last one, we had musician Kitty coming here to perform for the students here. The students went into a state of frenzy when he performed right here in this quadrangle. He presented an amount of 3,000 Ghana cedis for Oswald to use to open an account. Remember, Oswald also mentioned an iPad in his letter. He presented him with an iPad too. Kiddy is not the only musician who came here. Dope Nation also came here to make it memorable for young Oswald. Oswald's father tells me that he's overwhelmed by the reaction from Ghanaians. He says he's very happy that the whole of Ghana came through for his son and made this day memorable.
Well, I feel very overwhelmed, very excited. I mean, it was just on 29th, that was on Wednesday 9th. Mom closed from work and then went to pick up Oswald and then sister from Granny's place. And then he handed over a letter to her and said, Mom, I want you to read and take everything in it seriously. So it was also passed on to me. I read it, and so we decided we were going to try and organize something for him, especially with the fact that he said, you know, I told him that I've got a surprise for him if he passes very well in the exam. And then he was like, okay, Daddy, tell me the surprise so that it will motivate me to study hard. Wow. But I told him that, look, you don't have a choice. Pass well and the surprise will come. So I think realizing that he's done well, he wrote a letter to us asking us to also do the needful for him. So the mom got to the office and was just talking to a colleague about it. The colleague took a shot of it. By the time we realized it's all over Twitter, and then calls started coming here and there. And then
she has not slept through. I mean, there were a lot of calls coming even around.
Trust me, as late as 2 a.m. there were calls coming.
Wow.
Calls, text messages here and there.
Wow.
But I need to thank Ghanaians for their love and support. I mean, it's so overwhelming. They've really shown love for the little boy. And to me, I think it's an encouragement to him. I mean, when you look at how he constructed the letter to the man, on his birthday, he wrote a book. He told me, Daddy, I've written a book, this page book, and he's put together the cartoon characters, the stories and everything, just to come out with a story.
He was admonished by his parents to pass his exams with flying colors. Oswald did that, and part of the bargain was the long list that he presented to his mother in that letter. Well, the mother tells me that he gave that letter to a friend in the office, he posted it on Twitter, and that went viral. We can hear from mother of 9-year-old Oswald telling me about how it all started.
He had written a letter for me on all and he has itemized the list, the things that he wanted for his our day. So he wrote it, in fact, he addressed it well and then gave it to me. So I just took it on a lighter note. He usually does those, if he wants something he wants to write, because when he wants things, I will intentionally tell him that I have forgotten what he requested for. So I took it and I showed it to his dad, and we were planning around it. So the letter was with me, and I went to the office. And then we were having a chat in the office, and I showed it to my colleague. And I told him that, see this guy, see this, my son, he has written me a love letter that he wants all these things for our day. I don't know whether he's the one sponsoring the whole school. And then we laughed about it. Yeah. And then my colleague read it, and he was overwhelmed. He was laughing, and he went crazy about it. And he took a picture of it and put it on Twitter. That was the beginning, the genesis of this whole thing. And after a few minutes, he came to tell me that people are calling him. Should he give out my number? I said, oh, feel free. I didn't know how big this thing was going to be. Yeah. I said, oh, I thought just a few people. I actually didn't know the number of people he had on Twitter. Okay. So
you're not even on Twitter, right?
I'm not on Twitter. Yeah. So everything that was happening was he that was giving me information. He passed it over to me on WhatsApp. So it went viral. So my phone didn't stop beeping from then. Up until this morning, everybody kept calling. Companies have come to sponsor, individuals. Oh, it's heartwarming.
The first person on Oswald's list was Mrs. Appiah. Mrs. Appiah is the class teacher of Oswald. He describes him in very kind words. Oswald tells me that Mrs. Appiah treats him like a mother, and that explains why he put him first on that list.
Because she treats me well.
Okay.
She treats me like my mother.
Oh, she treats you like your mother.
Yes.
When you were writing that letter, did it occur to you that this letter was going to go viral?
No.
It didn't occur to you?
Yes.
You thought you were just writing a letter to mommy?
Yes.
What motivated you to do that?
First, when I watch cartoons, I see that people write letters well. So I wanted to write the letter and see if it will work.
Okay. Is this going to be the best our day ever for you? Because we're seeing all the gifts coming through here.
Yes.
Through the list, it's endless. But let me find out from Oswald. Oswald, what do you want to do in future? What do you want to become in future?
I want to be an actor.
You want to be an actor? Wow, tell me, what's the motivation to be an actor?
When I watch movies, I see other people acting. And I wanted to try it and see if it was nice.
Oh, okay. So you want to be an actor?
Yes.
Wow. I pray that it materializes. And very soon we're going to see you on our screens very soon. It has started already. In fact, it starts today, yeah?
First, I wanted her to really buy it so that she will not forget. Because usually when I tell her to buy something, she forgets.
Oh, okay. So that is why you gave her a list.
Yes.
Tell us, why were you so specific?
Because I wanted her to buy the real size I wanted. Because some of them, I cannot finish them all.
Oh, okay. So that's why you wanted a small size?
Yes.
So the small Fanta and then the small Sprite?
Yes, but if I buy the big one and I cannot finish it, I'll feel bad because I'll feel like I've wasted money.
Oh, Okay, so you can't take 1 liter, so you wanted a small bottle.
Yes.
As a brand, one of our motives is also to make sure that there's food everywhere to feed people. So we thought what better way than to come and to surprise him, to surprise the school, bring some food for them to enjoy.
Okay.
So we've got some fresh chicken, some delicious crispy chips, and we've got our crushers in different flavors. We brought it here for everyone to enjoy.
And a lot of companies and individuals have been making Oswald's Day a special one today. MTN donated, KFC, Professor Nano Opoku-Agyeman also donated an iPad, Pepsodent, Dole, Golden Tree Chocolate. Oh, Oswald, I want to be your friend today. Such an intelligent chap. Yes, and these are some of the pictures on your screens. That's the mother of Oswald. And Mrs. Apia has been trending too. Wow. It's been a big day for Oswald. And Samsung also donated, MTN over there. A lot of the companies. Okay, so Kobe Blay took these wonderful pictures. It was given the credit. But you know, a colleague of mine was actually not happy to see, not to see Sarkodie as part of this. She was actually thinking he should take advantage of the moment because he released a song at dawn and he was supposed to be the man of the moment and be trending, but little Oswald took the shine. So my colleague said, if I were him, I'll release a track and say, it's supposed to be my day, but you took the day. So let's celebrate together and make it our day. Did I rhyme? That's how we wrap up on The Pulse this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of our program.